Hi everyone, my name's Paul and welcome to Beautiful British English, where we focus on fluency in the English language. And today we're going to be looking at the steps to fluency. So let's get started with the 4 steps to fluency. Now, fluency does mean something different to everybody, but I think these 4 steps should help everybody on their path to achieving what they want from fluency. Okay, so I think this is quite universal, but you may not agree with me 100%. You may think fluency is something a little bit different than what I'm describing, but that's okay. Fluency means different things to everybody, so really there is no right or wrong answer when it comes to fluency. But this is generally the answer I give when someone asks me, how do I become fluent at English? So let's start with the first element, exposure. The way that you will become more familiar with using a language and how a language is used is by increasing your exposure to the language. Now, what I mean by increasing your exposure to the language, I mean, let's say for example you go on holiday, yeah, and instead of going on holiday to your favourite location in your country where everyone speaks your language, you go on holiday to a place where everyone speaks English. You know, so let's say you know you're going to go on holiday to London, where everyone speaks beautiful British English, and you know you're on holiday and you're exposed to the language. Holidays obviously are expensive. Not everyone can afford, you know, a 2 or 3 week holiday in London or the UK or New York or Australia, but you can expose yourself to English or any other language you're trying to learn at home. We all have the internet, we all have smartphones and various devices that give us instant access to things like YouTube, for example. We have televisions, we have DVDs, we have radio, we have podcasts. A lot of my students actually have family members who also speak English. And it's really funny that I might have 2 or sometimes 3 members of a family coming to me for English lessons, but at home in their own environments they will refuse to speak English and use the language they're learning with each other. I don't know, I find this really frustrating because it's one of the best ways, okay, to become fluent in language is to increase your exposure. And if you have a friend or a family member who also speaks or is learning English, then it's a great way to practice. Yeah, go for a coffee with your friend or your family member and spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes speaking English with them. It will increase your exposure, as will television, podcasts, radio, books. Try and read a book in English. Holidays, as I mentioned. Now, obviously, these are all things that you can do in your own time, but also lots of you guys have opportunities at work to increase your exposure. Yes, you do. Lots of you guys work for international companies. You have video conferences, you have reports to write or read, all in English. Yeah? And a lot of my students, they shy away from speaking during a video conference. They shy away from writing the report. Or if they're writing an email, they write a very short email in English because they think their English is bad. If you practice, if you increase your exposure, you will become better at using the language. It's very, very simple. So our first step is to increase your exposure whenever and wherever you can. Step number 2, vocabulary. Now, let me ask you guys a question. How many words do you think exist currently in January 2020 in the English language? How many words exist in English in January 2020? And I'm saying specifically January 2020 because this number will be different probably in February 2020. Okay, I've possibly given you a little clue there. The truth is, nobody knows how many words exist in the English language. There are well over 1 million words in English, and in all honesty, it's going to be impossible for you and me to learn every single word. But there are some essential words that you need. So I want you guys to do a Google search, or I will actually provide you with a link, okay, where you can review the top 1,000 most popular words to use in English. If you know all of these top 1,000 words already, well done. If not, you need to learn them. This is the top 1,000 words that I'm talking about. 1,000 words is a lot of vocabulary, and especially if you're learning words that are the most popularly used words, then you're learning great vocabulary. A lot of people make the mistake of just trying to learn every word that they are exposed to in English, and you end up with massive lists of words that you're never going to use. And it's a complete waste of time. So your vocabulary, yes, you do have to increase your vocabulary, but you have to try and be specific about the words you learn. I'm going to provide you with a link to the top 1,000 words in English that you have to know. So that's 1,000 words. You actually only need to be considered fluent in a language. You only need about 3,000 words. Only 3,000 words to be considered fluent in a language. So I'm going to give you a list of 1,000. So with that list you are a third of the way there with your vocabulary. And with all of the other vocabulary that you probably know already, I bet you have 3,000 words. Have a think about that. Okay. Exposure, vocabulary. Number 3 is pretty obvious. Practice. Yeah? You have to practice. You have to continue to practice using and developing your language skills. Think back to when you were, I don't know, a baby. Not a baby, a toddler. When you were 5 or 6 years old, when you'd really just began to master communication and speaking in your native language. You were practicing every day for 8, 10, 12 hours every day. Practice, practice, practice. Now I know it's impossible for you to practice every day for 8, 10 or 12 hours. But if you think about how you learnt your native language, you learnt it through practice. Yeah, when you were young, growing up, you started practicing, and you are still practicing using your language today. That is one of the key things. Hard work. There is no such thing as learning a language without trying. No one can, Harry Potter cannot wave his magic wand and go, ching, you're now fluent in English. It doesn't happen like that. You only learn things through hard work. Okay, so third element, practice. The fourth element, and this is just as important as practice, is you have to have patience. Nothing you have ever learnt or achieved in your lives that's worth having has been easy and happened instantly. That doesn't happen in life. Anything that you want in life, usually you're going to obtain it through hard work and waiting for it to happen. So be patient. Stop expecting fluency to happen immediately. Fluency with any language and any skill happens and comes over time. It comes through exposing yourself on a regular basis to the language and activity, using the correct tools, let's call it vocabulary, regularly, practicing as much as you can, and doing all of this for a long time. And that is how you guys will become fluent in English, or French, or Italian, or Spanish, or Chinese.